it's Monday, 7 o'clock. You know what that means? It's time for your updated weekly episode of SCV Chat. Before we really get started on this, as usual, the views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views and opinions expressed by the Sons of Confederate Veterans. It's GEC, any divisions, brigades, camps, or other subsidiaries, strictly those of us who are expressing them. Well, good Monday evening, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
I'm here.
J-Bo is having trouble lighting a cigar, I see. And Adam looks to be frozen.
I'm not having any problem. I'm just watching Adam Southern. I am enjoying the uncomfortable silence.
He's not having any problem.
See, I'm upset with J-Bo. I am very upset with J-Bo now because he's got a cigar and I don't. And the wife says I can't smoke anymore till the weekend.
Now you're going to have a long week.
Yeah. It's been a rough day already today, and I wish I could have one. But she said I got to cut back some. Been smoking too much lately.
Well, I'm going to see the commander this weekend at the Battle of Cuba Station in Gainesville, Alabama. If you've never been, that's actually where General Forrest and his troops surrendered in May of 1865. So I'll make sure, Annette, if you're watching, that we will. I'll keep him to at least one a day. Just at that.
Look what Cousin Vinny put out there.
J-Bo needs a rocket chair with that cigar. Yeah. I
finally got a giggle out of me today.
I wish I had the picture of the Elton John glasses that I could put up right now. That would give everybody a giggle. But I've changed phones since then, so I can't. We do have our local, our SCV, the legend, past Commander-in-Chief Paul Gramling in the chat, as well as several others. But anyway, so J-Bo, before the program started, you sent us a picture of something that we're announcing, and going to turn it over to you and let you announce that.
Oh, are you referring to the Forest 200 Society?
I am referring to the Forest 200 Society.
There you go. This was a little project that was actually the brainchild of past Tennessee Division Commander James Patterson. And it was, Forest will be 200 years old July 13th of this year. So we thought we would start a Forest 200 Society, and we're going to limit it to 200 people. Only 200 people can join. It is $200. For that, you get a challenge coin. So there's only going to be 200 of those. You're going to have the patch, only 200 of those. And you're going to have a lapel pin, only 200 of those. And all of the funds from it will go to the Forest Boyhood Home for a fundraiser. So join up. You will see on there that you actually is something that's part of the Tennessee Division is what they're doing to help raise funds for the Forest Boyhood Home. So join on up, send us in $200, and you can be the member of the Forest 200 Society. One-time deal, only 200 people.
Well, that is definitely awesome, and kudos to the Tennessee Division for coming up with that. Susie, if you're watching, let me bum $200, and you'll have one from me for sure. I did throw up our comment from from Upper Louisiana, because there's no such thing as North Mississippi, and I don't believe there's no such thing as North Louisiana either. But Chief Donnie Kennedy's in the audience. I've seen a lot of folks in from, of course, Upper Dixie. We got Vinny. We've got Terry from Ohio. We've got folks coming in from all over. So good to see everybody on this Monday night. Well, we have our executive director on, who is he comes on all the time. We're not the same person. We're not twins. We have no blood relation. So don't get us confused. But tell us what's going on at the museum. Any updates we've had since the May 1st event?
Oh man, where do we start? A lot of good stuff happening at the museum. Brought in about 5 new display cases last weekend. And then I show up to work today, and guess what? We've got a Canon and a case on. So things are looking up for our museum. And now's the time to join the Friends of the Museum, get in on the ground floor. I'm sure they can run the link for that in the chat, but be a friend of the museum, sponsor a flag for the museum. A lot of things you can do to help. So,
yeah, remind us about the flag program. I think we still have the picture of the flag from when it was originally announced. We do need to remind everybody about that.
Yeah. $200. You get to sponsor the flag for the month at the National Confederate Museum. And at the end of the month, we will send you your flag along with the certificate of authenticity, letting everybody know that this flag did fly over the National Museum and Sons of Confederate Veterans headquarters in Columbia, Tennessee. And it's a beautiful 6x10 flag. It's embroidered, it's an expensive flag. So you're paying for the flag and paying to ship it there with a little bit of a donation for the museum.
Now, is there, because I know we have the 2 flagpoles out there. We have the one off the museum that, of course, this one's flying off of. But what about the one that is in front of the house? Will we be looking at doing a program kind of like this, but for the a smaller fee, or is that something we're maybe look at in the future?
Maybe look at it in the future. Right now, I don't want to confuse the 2 programs, but this flag right here is sponsored at the museum. Is sponsored through, I believe, March of next year. So we have that many people taking advantage of this program right now. So I'd like to go ahead and get 2022 taken care of. So if you want to send in your donations and have your name added to the list, let's get 2022 taken care of.
Well, if we're through March, that means April, next Confederate Memorial Month is available. And then, of course, the first weekend of May will be the next pilgrimage to headquarters, which if you go and look at the commander's comments, Commander-in-Chief and Chief Kennedy, it came out, I think, this past Friday, at least part 1 did. They talked about the event up there and how it is going to be an annual thing. We did most of it live. We'll continue to broadcast it live as long as we have it, as long as there is SCV chat. But so if April's not taken and May's not taken, those are 2 very important dates coming up for 2022.
Yep.
Goodness gracious.
We're taking them first come, first serve. So, if you're the next person to send a check, you're the next person to have your name added to the list. Unless you want to go ahead and say, I want December of next year, I will do that. But usually we're just, as we receive checks, we're putting them down in the order they're sent in. So send them in. I'd like to get 22 taken care of. If you have leads on artifacts, go ahead and let me know. Reach out to me. We've got 5 display cases we're looking to fill up. So contact the historian in chief, contact HQ, just contact somebody and we'll get in touch with you. And love to have your artifacts at the National Confederate Museum.
Chief Kennedy wrote in and asked, can the flag donations be made online?
Well, you can. If you want me to send a link to you, can pay through PayPal, but most people are sending in checks to P.O. Box 59, Columbia, Tennessee.
38402.
Yeah, that's right.
All the reason why I knew that is scrolled across the screen. And I saw that we're doing something that we did during the snow ice apocalypse again, but we're trying to do it in better weather. Another dessert party?
Yeah, another dessert party coming up. I believe it's June 19th, and that's the evening of the Forest Boyhood Home event. So if you're going to that during the daytime, come over to HQ that night and enjoy some refreshments with us. Miss Kayla's going to have a whole new lineup of desserts for this event, summer-themed desserts. I've been out picking honeysuckle tonight for her famous honeysuckle ice cream. So she's out churning that right now. And come for the $25 a ticket, I believe. Come to HQ and enjoy some good refreshments. It's going to be a lot of good homemade treats.
Will there be mint juleps on the veranda?
If you bring your own, there will be.
Okay. Kayla says she's making the honeysuckle ice cream right now. So Adam, we may lose Adam halfway through to go taste test.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear that we've got a lot of great stuff happening at headquarters. You know, as the SCV, we've owned Elm Springs since the '90s. Dr. McCain, was really instrumental. Son of Mississippi, adjutant chief forever and a day. When you read his biography. The man who saved the SCV after the Depression and everything, helped us get it, and it's ours, and we need to take advantage of it. Anything that's happening up there. In fact, I actually spoke to somebody today who's looking to join the SCV because they stopped at headquarters. They're from the Corinth area. They stopped at headquarters, and he said, this is something I really want to do. So that's great, and we gotta continue to support ours. Part of the Hearth and Home campaign, as somebody in the looking stoic off into the sunset once said, and he's giggling now. Anyway, am I missing anything? Any news? Anything else besides the national reunion that's coming up in Metairie, Kenner, Jefferson Parish, Louisiana? That's not in New Orleans. That's on the outskirts of New Orleans. Week of July 23rd. The only reason why I can remember that is because I have a very important, not mine, but somebody else's important birthday in my life on that Friday. It'll be a great time. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in person. Looking forward to seeing Matt again in person. I'm sure he'll be, if he's watching, he's looking forward to seeing all of us. Looking forward to seeing J-Bo and, of course, the Commander-in-Chief and the legend Paul Gramling. Susie, you announced it. I didn't. So that's on you. But yeah, it's almost week-long, full fun, a lot of great stuff that'll be going on. If you go to the SCV website, scv.org, click the link, you'll see it on there. You'll see the information for what's being held as far as the breakfasts. You can look at the menu for the meals, which sound fantastic, and get a rough rundown of everything. It was also, at least the registration information was in your last issue of the Veteran, but it is again, go to scv.org and click on the link to the reunion. You should be able to see that. SCV Chat, what our plans are for the reunion is starting Wednesday, going all the way through Saturday. We're going to try to go live with as much information as possible. We're not going to we'll go live hopefully for opening ceremonies, the memorial service where we honor the members that we've lost in the past year, and that'll pretty much be it as far as from the convention floor. Everything else will be live on location, but not during the business session and not while stuff's going on. But we will try to, just like the major news media does for the political party conventions, give out a brief rundown of the day's events. We'll also be grabbing people off the GEC, off the floor, and doing some short interviews about the SCV, who we are, while we're here, things like that. Great opportunity to share and get our names out there is what's coming up. We are asking everybody that has purchased one of our Bedford Forest fundraising T-shirts or one of our T-shirts that was done with the other company to wear that shirt on Friday night for the oratory. You see Harrison here, the producer, with his shirt. Bring up the other graphic really quickly. So this is how you can actually order the shirt. Go to victoryflagsandmore.com or go to our SCV Chat Facebook page. At the end of the program, click on the link for the website link, and you'll see the link for the shirt. Beautiful shirt, if I do say so myself, and I do because I helped design it. It's available in several different colors. But when we were first designing them, we were doing white and red. I believe there's also now a charcoal color that they're offering. On the back, it's got the 3 bars of the First National with General Force picture in the center, with our phrase, "Let's bring him home." And home, his final home resting place for him and Mrs. Forrest will be historic Elm Springs, Columbia, Tennessee, and that's on there. And on the front, it has our logo, SCV Chat, reclaim the narrative 1 week at a time. These shirts, as it does say in the upper left-hand corner, are limited edition. They are being printed as they are being ordered. They are being printed as they're being ordered. What that means is there's not a stock of them just sitting around somewhere in a warehouse. You order them, they print them, they mail it to you. You also get some information on the Confederate Legion, the Make Dixie Great Again campaign, the Southern Victory campaign. But, definitely order your T-shirts now, because once we get General and Mrs. Forrest home, these shirts will no longer be available. I did speak last week to the guys at Victory Flags and More who are producing these shirts for us, and they've had to order more backing. So, they're waiting to get those in, fulfill orders. So order now while they're still running these shirts. So yeah. Anybody else got anything besides Look Around the Confederation, which is on Thursdays, and we need you all to send in your news. That's our chance to really show what our camps are doing in their communities, what our camps are up to. It is really, really great program. Matt's normally the host on it, of course. With Matt being down with the weather, the producer stepping in to help keep the show going on. But the only way we can keep the show going on is if you all will send us your news, your pictures. As Donnie Kennedy says, if you don't toot your own horn,
it will go untooted.
It will go untooted. But this is your chance to see what is happening throughout the Confederation, to see what other camps are doing in their area, get some ideas from them. Share your ideas if you're being really, if your camp's being prosperous, to share your ideas to help everybody out. As an organization, we're only as strong as our weakest link. So we need everybody to do that. To email that into scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com. Send your pictures and short write-ups, send videos, send anything that you want. We'll put it out there, and everything like that. There is something.
I got something I want to talk about, Connor, when you got a moment.
All right, just two things that just came up in the chat, and then I'll kick it over to you. We've got Steve Reed from the Battle of Shiloh camp in Savannah, Tennessee. They're looking, if anybody's looking for a Memorial Day event to attend, they are having a service at the main Confederate burial trench. If you want more information, you see Steve's picture on there. I'm assuming you should be able to see our fans and see him on there. So message him for more information on that. And then Christian Lee from the great state of Texas sent us a message that they're showing the General on their Facebook page next week. And that's one thing that they started a couple months ago about doing a virtual movie night, kind of like what we're doing here, but instead of us talking, it's a movie playing. And get in contact with the Alamo City Guards camp or with Christian about getting that all, if you want to participate in that. I'm done, J-Bo.
A few years back, I spoke at the main burial trench, the big burial trench at Shiloh for their Memorial Day, and it is an extremely humbling experience. If you get a chance to go, I encourage people to go. But I thought at this time, I might go ahead and start talking about the challenge that has been issued and answered by so many. As we know, California started with $500 donation to go to the museum. We had Arkansas step up and give us $750. Tennessee step up and give $1,000. Louisiana Ended up, no, we had, who gave us 14?
750
Is that
came
Arkansas?
from Louisiana.
All right, 750 was given to us by Arkansas. Missouri. Yeah,
1,000 from Tennessee.
I had them backwards. Yeah, I had Missouri give us 750. Tennessee gave us 1,000. Arkansas gave us 1,400, and then Louisiana has given us, what was that total ended up being?
4,000. What? $84.
I believe that is correct. $4,084. This coming weekend, I will be in the great state of Texas in Waco for the Texas Division reunion. Following that, the next weekend, there's 3 reunions going on that I know of, and they are Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And then the week after that, we have Mississippi. And then 2 weeks after that, we have Kentucky. So, Texas, I'll be there. Florida, I'll be there.
Got to step up, guys.
Mississippi, I'll be there. Kentucky, I'll be there. Just saying. The challenge was issued and it has been answered. So I want to thank all of those that have contributed so far. This has been a wonderful event. It's been a wonderful deal. Great for us. Great for the museum. Love to see the organizations challenge each other, whether they be divisions or brigades, or there have been camps challenging other camps to do things. And the fact they're doing this, I love that kind of camaraderie, to where you're friends enough with somebody that you can challenge them to do something. And this has just been fantastic. But just want to let everybody know where we've stood and where we are headed.
You know, and speaking to the Texans out there, you know what General Granberry said at Franklin? What did he say, J-Bo?
Give me the Mississippians and the Texans.
Well, he also said Texans never lag in a fight.
Yep.
And Mississippi won't let down either.
Nope. And Nathan Bedford Forrest said a number of times, give me the Texans and the Mississippians. On the retreat from the Battle of Nashville, when they got together in Columbia, Tennessee, and headed down to Alabama, he put all of the men that were injured into the back of wagons, and he said, give me the Mississippians and the Texans. And they were part of his rear guard. So,
well, and speaking about the friendly rivalry, I guess we could say, between the divisions right now, I was reminded of a story of a group of, I believe it was Texans and North Carolinians at some battle in the Eastern Theater. It was literally their 2 color bearers that one would step up a couple of feet and stop, and the men would follow him. And the other one, the next unit would be like, well, by God, I'm not going to have him outdo me. Stepped up a couple more feet and stopped, and the lines just continued moving forward, inching that way. Of course, us Mississippians, at First Manassas, after we fired our first volley, excuse me, we threw down our muskets and grabbed out our Bowie knives and then charged. So I think we'll show the same tenacity that our ancestors showed in 1861. Anyway, well, it is 25 minutes into the program, so that means it is time. Thank you, Dixie. It is time for our weekly trivia question, and this week we're diving back a little bit further than just the war. Iceland is in the North Atlantic. Its capital city is Reykjavik. Who was the Honorable Preston Brooks, and why was he famous?
Ooh, 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 ooh.
My favorite.
What's going on there, Horseshack?
And I
I
told
know
y'all.
the answer, Mr. Carter.
Yeah, you
I
just
told-
run off Adam Southern. There he comes back. Woo! I thought Adam was gone for good.
I thought Kayla called him to come taste the ice cream.
Yeah. The while everybody's mulling this over, this has become kind of the opportune time that I talk about the Southern Victory Campaign and Make Dixie Great Again. This is go to Make Dixie Great Again. Join the Confederate Legion, $50. Almost 90% of what you give, or 90% of what you give, goes straight through to be used in heritage fights and heritage promotions. Mostly, we've had things that happened in Franklin, and Southern Victory Campaign stepped in. All the great things that have happened in Arkansas. They started taking out radio ads and newspaper ads. Make Dixie Great Again. Go there, look at their videos. This is a great program. It is one of the reasons why this program is here. Is to take back the narrative. We're doing it 1 week at a time on Monday nights. We're doing it on Tuesday nights with the Look Around the Confederation.
Thursday.
This is just something. What now?
Thursday nights.
What did I say?
Tuesday.
All
Thursday
right.
nights. Thursday
Thursday.
nights.
All right. Okay. Well, I made a mistake. That's the first time that's ever happened.
I just don't want to confuse people because we've
Wow.
had a day change already
Yeah.
with the program once.
Yeah. Yeah. On Thursday nights, now that I have been corrected by the right and honorable George Connor Bond, we just have to take this back. And this is the Kennedy brothers started this under the legend Paul Gramlin's tenure about taking the narrative back, going on the offense. We've been on the defense so many times for so long. Lawsuits have not worked out well for us. We know that we have people out there that back us, like us, and know what we're doing. And we just have to reach those people and let them know that we're there. That's what the Southern Victory Campaign is all about. That is what Make Dixie Great Again is all about. So go out there, join the Confederate Legion, $50. It's a great thing. Your money is going to go to worthwhile causes of pushing our narrative and taking back the narrative. Look at joining up. Go to Make Dixie Great Again and look at the videos.
Now, here's my question. One thing that I think we don't hit hard enough on. Do you have to be a member of the SCV to join the Confederate Legion?
No, you do not have to be a member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Anybody can join the Confederate Legion. Anyone.
So UDC, I know SCV camps have UDC chapters, OCR chapters. If you're thinking about joining the SCV, but just can't find that ancestor, or you're a friend of the SCV, or you're interested in seeing American history preserved and the truth of American history being told and told correctly, this is the place for you.
Boy, I think I'm just like you, Jason, the other day, just not feeling plumbed right today. But I will say something, with all the videos that I did as Lieutenant Commander in Chief, I'm going to give a sneak preview here. I think last week Jason's working on a really, really good video here of Elm Springs and the museum. It should be coming out here soon. Don't know what he's got planned for that, what day he wants to release it, but I saw some of the pictures of it, and I think it's going to be something really interesting to be proud of following those recruiting videos. So be on the lookout for that. Is there anything you want to report on that, Jason?
Well, after talking with Jamie Matthews, who's over Matthews Film Productions, the first video is a 90-second video and it is going to be available the first week of June. So I don't know if we're going to have it that first week or we'll be able to show it the next Monday. But I would like to show it here on SCV Chat. Then I've got 2 30-minute videos that he's doing also, and one of them will be ready the second week and another one the third week of June. So by the time we get to the end of June, you're going to have 3 videos to go with. The highlights of the videos are Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum. Part of the duties of a lieutenant commander in chief is recruitment and retention. Well, we have a great recruitment tool that is out there on Mooresville Pike in Columbia, Tennessee. We have an original antebellum home that was started in 1835 and completed in 1837. It has been the home of the loonies. Confederate soldiers trained on those grounds. The house was attempted to or tried to be burned by the Federals during the war and was saved. The house has been the home of the Sons of Confederate Veterans in either 1991 or 1992 is when the SCV bought it. It has been our home since then. And now we have put a lot of finances and a lot of resources and a lot of effort into this Confederate Museum. And I wanted to highlight the things we have there because they are wonderful recruitment tools. It's like Stone Mountain, Georgia, and everything that is going on down there. Stone Mountain is a great recruitment tool. The Nathan Bedford Forest Boyhood Home, they're great recruitment tools because there is a story that can be told when you're there looking at them. And anytime that a story can be told, the true story, not the story, we all know the stories they tell. I'm talking about a true original story. And I have started, oddly enough, I wrote out kind of what I wanted the narration to be, and they're going to take it almost word for word. I was expecting stuff to be edited and adjusted and all of that, but the whole point was to tell the story of our organization, to tell the story of the home, and to tell the story of the museum, because we're creating history, our history, and the history of the Confederate States at the museum. We're preserving it and we're telling those stories. The place really feels like hearth and home to me. And that was my whole point of the videos. I hope they're good. Jamie says everything looks good. I'm nervous, putting the effort that has been into it. But I'm optimistic, and I just hope that they help us do what we need to do.
I know how you feel, Jason, when that first video came out that I did. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait to see it. Jamie is a great cinematographer. He doesn't pull any punches. He just tells the story as it unfolds. So looking forward to it.
Well, it's about time for the answer. We've given everybody in the chat plenty of time, and Adam gave him a hint.
And my hit too.
Yeah. Yeah, I meant to pun that up. So he was famous for whooping Yankee Senator Charles Sumner with a cane on the floor of the U.S. Senate. And it's reported that William Barksdale of Mississippi, later a Confederate general, helped guard the doors to keep the sergeant at arms away from him. This happened, of course, way before the war. And just as my personal opinion, I think that Congress people should go back to hitting each other with sticks on the floor of Congress. It would make things a lot more interesting to watch on C-SPAN.
Oh, yeah.
People from all over the South sent him walking sticks for doing it, too. It was great.
Yeah. And the reason why I put this as this question for this week is May 22nd, and my household is Preston Brooks Day. And if you're a friend of mine on Facebook, you saw my Happy Preston Brooks Day post on Saturday.
Yeah.
Um,
I watch C-SPAN sometimes. I know that sounds awful nerdy, but I watch C-SPAN sometimes, and I've watched all this stuff go on over the last year with how things played out about the elections and all of that. The only thing that is missing between watching a congressional debate and the WWE is somebody getting smacked in the head with a chair. I mean,
yeah, brother.
they need table matches, they need ladder matches, because it's the same thing where they're calling each other out, they're calling each other names, and there is no difference other than, Nancy Pelosi hitting somebody in the head with a chair. That's the only thing that is missing.
She looks like she's already been hit in the chair. At least her face has been hit with a chair. So,
since Jason brought it up, I'm just gonna throw it out there. Woo!
although it would be hilarious to see Ted Cruz come in with the Stone Cold theme Stone Cold Steve Austin theme playing, stand up behind his desk and do the whole Budweiser can crash.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Anyway, well, it's time for our commercial break, which is brought to us by the Make Dixie Great Again Southern Victory campaign. We'll be right back with the topic Memorial Day right after this message.
I am Rabbi Thomas Fortenberry. I'm a descendant of Isaac Fortenberry, a Confederate veteran. Many of the people in my family were veterans. As a military veteran, I served with the United States Army. It's important to veterans of all wars to remember those who have passed and what they did and what they suffered. Everyone who serves gives a part of themselves. The SCV is much a part of that. The SCV serves people, not only the people that are involved as members, but the community. My commitment to the SCV is a commitment to our heritage, our cause, not in a violent way, nor an aggressive way, simply in the way we live. Live what you believe. But in your defense, know in what you're defending and defend it truthfully. May Yahovah bless you and keep you. May Yahovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace and blessing.
And we're back. Tom is a member of the Mississippi Division. Known him for several years. Great guy. Very, very happy to have him and call him as a brother in the struggle. And that video just goes to show that we do have people of all sorts of ethnic and social backgrounds and religious backgrounds in our organization. Y'all hold on a second. I have a little trouble with my audio. Hold on.
And I'll tell you, that is one of my favorite videos. I love that video. It is just listening to his voice and his calming nature. To me, it's just a absolutely great video. Well done.
Yeah. Well, Monday is Memorial Day here in the United States. And just like everything else in the South, it is a Southern holiday, despite what people would like for us to believe. Just a really quick note, Mr. Producer, put that banner that we were working on before the show began on right now. Do you want to go ahead, and while we have everybody watching, we're not going to be on next Monday night. We're going to take the producer's going to be out of town, and with it being Memorial Day, figured we give everybody a break, but we'll be back the very next week talking about a famous Confederate general who looks like one of our panelists. Let you guess which one it is. But we're going to talk about Memorial Day and the history behind Memorial Day and what it means to us because, United States Confederate veterans are United States veterans by an act of Congress. They are on equal footing. Delta's not happy. But, yeah, so who wants to start off?
Well,
before we start the debate of where it really started.
Well, let's go back before we get into the debate where it started. Let's look at the background and the foundations who claim that they created the first Memorial Day, and that would have to be the federal government. And it started as a result of decorating the graves at Arlington. The United States government always has the president bring flowers to the tomb of the unknown at Arlington. But what a lot of people don't realize is that Arlington was Robert E. Lee's home. So why was it turned into a cemetery? At that time, the quartermaster general, Montgomery Meigs, his son was killed in battle, a battle that Robert E. Lee won. I've forgotten the name of the battle, but Meigs wanted to make sure that Arlington would never be able to be livable for Robert E. Lee. He said, put the graves as close to the windows of Arlington, so if Robert E. Lee ever lived there, he could look out the window and see that he was the one that caused so many deaths, as a reminder to him. And eventually that becomes one of our first major national cemeteries. And Meigs with General John Logan, a couple other federal generals, would eventually push to have this Memorial Day, and it would start there. But because of the debate that we're probably fixing to get into, who actually started Memorial Day? The federal government claims it, but it was being celebrated a lot sooner than that, wouldn't you say, Connor?
Well, and you kind of set me up absolutely perfect for what I was going to say. Memorial Day could not be a federally started holiday strictly for the fact that when you look at the history of it, starting in the 1860s, look how the Federals treated the Confederate dead.
Yeah.
We talk about, earlier we talked about the burial trench at Shiloh. We talk about Arlington being there, and yes, there is a Confederate section, but there's like 3 Confederates buried at Gettysburg, 3 or 4 buried at Vicksburg. The Federals chose, after they invaded the South, to disinter their dead and put them all together. Whereas we Southerners, whenever somebody who did die of battle, whether he was from Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and so on, and the territories, when they fell, it was up to the local communities, and the most point, they took it upon themselves to care for their graves. And the story of Decoration Day, which became Memorial Day, or which, some folks still call Decoration Day, began in the South because we did have those cemeteries where it was mixed with Union and Confederate dead, and the Southern women being Southern ladies of that genteel culture who sent their husbands, sons, wives, brothers, fathers, uncles, nephews, cousins off to war. They had hoped that some other Southern woman or some other kind motherly figure, sisterly figure, what have you, of the relation, was taking care of the final resting place of their loved one. It could not be a holiday of, when you look at it, of unity, of bringing the nation back together after the destructive chaos of the war before occupied Reconstruction began. The way that it's supposed to be remembering the dead of all of America's conflict, because the federal government, those Yankee radical, I almost said a bad word, north of the Mason-Dixon, not those in Upper Dixie, you know, the ones I'm talking about, you know, they didn't care a hoot in hell about our dead. They only cared about their own. We couldn't have had a Memorial Day if it wasn't for the South.
Yeah.
I'd like for somebody to answer a question for me. What happened in April of 1866 in Columbus, Mississippi?
April 25th, 1866 was the first Decoration Day there. Jackson, Mississippi claims April 25th, 1865, and Columbus, Georgia claims April 26th, 1866. Although that's where the debate really is, that's where the debate of where it started kicks off.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we're dealing with, is when it was actually started, because the ladies down here throughout the South, as we know from what was said just there in those three separate well, two of them in Jackson, Mississippi, and one in two in Mississippi and one in Georgia. Columbus, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, and where was the Georgia one? I forgot.
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia. That's right. Two Columbus ones. They have a debate on where it actually started. What we really know is that before the war was ever over with, the Southerners were going out and memorializing their dead before the war was ever over with.
Yes.
We know that they were going and they were visiting the graves of any Confederate that fell anywhere near them, because they're, like you said, their brother, their husband, their daddy never come home. And if I remember this Confederate soldier, maybe somebody will go and remember and honor and respect my beloved family member, although I don't know where he is. I know where this one is. So we know that they were going and visiting before the war was ever over with. But as far as having anything officially recognized, it was called the Ladies Memorial Associations. And they were doing this in 65 and 66. Now, I don't know if anybody was going and visiting graves up north, but I know that they were visiting graves in the South of both Confederate and Federal, because, well, they just saw the Federals as it was the right thing to do.
Well,
at that time, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I'm done.
What I was fixing to say, right there with agreeing with what you were saying, Jason. One reason why the Ladies Memorial Associations would decorate the graves of Federal soldiers as well as Confederate was because family members may be buried somewhere far, far away, and they thought, by decorating these Federal soldiers, they would be thinking that, some Northern lady would be decorating this unknown Confederate soldier's grave as well, or at least hoping they would, because they're missing a loved one that died somewhere far, far away. So,
yeah, and that goes from the POW camps that were up there.
Yes.
You had Confederates being buried all over the place up there. So, if I remember and pay honor and I pay respect, maybe somebody will remember, pay honor, and pay respects to mine.
yes.
It was that hope of reciprocity, and I am, yes, and I said that big word, Adam. So, the whole thing of it was a Southern thing. Now, here in the U.S., but we already know that they were already having the Revolutionary War and the War for First Independence, that they were already people going in and visiting graves and battlefields and some of that at the dates, on the anniversaries of where these things were happening. But as far as having any kind of organized event, they never did. But the Southerners started it, and it started before the war was ever over with.
Exactly.
So, and it was a small thing. It grew in 65 and 66, and it was full blown in 66, 67, and on. And okay. So the federal government made it a national holiday, but the Southerners were taking care of it first.
Yes.
It was another idea of ours. Just my opinion.
Well, let's go back to something just to add to what you were saying. Why does it mean so much to us? Keep in mind, the federal government's going to pay thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to dig up their soldiers and bury them in national cemeteries. So, what do we don't have that same privilege? The South going through Reconstruction, broke from the war, downtrodden. Here we go. We're paying money out of our own pockets to get our boys to bury in local cemeteries.
Well, but before we even get to the end of the war, we're in the middle or the middle part of the war of 62. You're Beauregard. You know what happened at Shiloh when Grant refused the families to come up there and try to. No, we've already buried them. You're not digging them up.
Yeah.
They're in these trenches.
Right at the end of the battle, Beauregard sent a letter to General Grant asking for the opportunity to recover the dead and to properly bury them. And Grant said, no, they've already been taken care of. And basically, they were just thrown in trenches. Which
the National Park Service, while they only show a couple of them, do not have it fully lined out in the scope of what they are.
No.
Those trenches that you see the outlines of them, and I heard somebody remark, "Man, I stopped at them. They must have them stacked deep." No, those trenches went on for a while. If at Shiloh, from what I've been told by a Mississippi historian who is a superb historian from Oxford, you go and you look at the burial trench and you'll see that there are cedar trees surrounding it. But if you look down the line, there are more cedar trees. Those cedar trees mark the entirety of the trench.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that story too. Those trenches are massive. And the sad thing about it was that even after the war, they were not allowed. People were not allowed to go to those trenches and dig those bodies up.
I mean, and you think about the mothers and the fathers from Copiah County, Mississippi, who make the at that point 3-4 day journey up there to reclaim that loved one, and then they're told by a Yankee sergeant from Illinois, not trashing the state of Illinois, just pulling that out as an example, that they can't reclaim their son because he's buried in this trench. And then when you look at Reconstruction and the accounts of stuff that happened, that's why I have Deputy Chief Ron Kennedy's comment up here that in many places in the occupied South, the Yankee Army commanders would send United States troops out to local graveside to prevent Southern families from decorating the graves of their fallen loved ones. You have that Reconstruction, and that's why it's such an important day in the South.
And that explains, in a nutshell, why we have these monuments on courthouse squares. Those are headstones to these people who never made it back at home. So that, they are memorials to these people that families could not go off to these battlefields, reclaim their family members, bring them back. That's the only headstone that some of them have. That's the reason why it means so much to us in the South in preserving these memorials. They are not remembrances of white supremacy. They are not remembrances of slavery. They are headstones. They are markers to memorialize those men who could not make it back home.
If I might tack on something to what our Commander-in-Chief just said, imagine seeing a newspaper of a picture that was made of the Wilderness Battlefield in 1867, in which all it was bones of Confederate soldiers never buried, never touched, left. The clothes were deteriorating and falling off of them. And we're not talking a couple of bodies here and there. We're talking the Wilderness Battlefield. There was that picture, and it's out there. You can find it. And there's just bones everywhere. Now, imagine if you were the mother and father you were talking about in Mississippi, and you lost one son, and he was at a burial trench in Shiloh. Oh, by the way, you don't know which burial trench. You don't know which one. And they only have, 5 of them marked?
Yeah.
When they say there's at least 7. They say there's at least 7 burial trenches there. They only have 5 marked that they know of. So you know that you've got a son on the battlefield somewhere in Shiloh. Right now, you're just praying that he is in one of those burial trenches. After you see the picture of the Wilderness, where if you lost a son there at the Wilderness, his bones were bleached by the sun. Who knows what animals come in there and ate what was left, because we know that happened. Because a lot of times when the din of the battle stopped, the firing had stopped, the wild animals would converge in there and start eating.
Yes.
Yeah, again, happened at Shiloh. There are accounts of one Confederate soldier who, said that he had, I think it was in Sam Watkins's Company H, where he talks about, hearing the hogs rooting around and seeing them between the flash of lightning and the bombardment that came from the Yankee boats in the Tennessee River.
Yeah, there's stories of hogs digging up shallow graves to eat on the dead.
Yeah.
But let me get back, try to tie all this in with the issue at hand. I know, Connor, that you set us up for a big debate on who started Memorial Day first, but we're getting deeper into this. And let's bring it back to home today, right now. Whereas Richmond, Virginia, the city voted to dig up A.P. Hill's body. And this is a legal cemetery. They're going to take down his monument, which is a legal by law headstone. It was in his will that he would be buried in Richmond. Now, A.P. Hill wasn't from Richmond. Why he wanted to be buried in Richmond, nobody knows, but it was in his will. He's buried there. The monument is his headstone that marks his grave. The city is going to take down the statue. They're going to dig up his grave. And guess what? They don't know what they're going to do with it yet. They don't know what they're going to do with A.P. Hill's body. Now, that's enough to get my blood boiling, and it should be getting your blood boiling too. I mean, they're going to hold this guy's remains. They don't know what they're going to do with them. They don't know where they're going to rebury him, when they're going to rebury him. What are they going to do with the statue? Nobody knows. Some people say it's the same thing as the issue with Forrest. No, this is a total different issue. This is where he was buried at when he died. Now think about that. So we got grave desecration going on here. They're going to hold his remains. They don't know where they're going to bury him at or how much it's going to cost. Then they're going to hold on to the statue. They don't know what they're going to do with it. The rumor has it he'll be buried in a cemetery in Richmond, probably Hollywood Cemetery. Who knows? I haven't got confirmation on it, but I have heard that the cemetery that was going to take his remains said they're not going to take the statue. Now, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's how crazy this world's gotten. I'm sorry. I'm through with it. I'm throwing my hands up. I'm through with it.
Well, I mean, how else will he be marked if they take the statue away? I mean,
I'm assuming they just put a Confederate headstone on. I don't know.
well, they're not going to get one from the VA because we can't even get one from the VA. Adam, what's your take on this?
I'm going to unmute my mic here. That using a few of my choicest words, I'm just disgusted with it all. Again, Memorial Day is something that the South did start. I will concede that. Some that the Yankees have taken and tried to make their own as a federal holiday. But everything that y'all said previously, I agree with 100%. That's why these monuments are so important to us. Our men were died, buried in trenches, buried in unmarked graves, buried. I think of my ancestors that were prisoners of war that died in Yankee prison camps, buried in unmarked graves, mass graves, and I can go to a monument and I can pay my respects to him there. I'm not going to make it to a Jersey Shore where he's at, but I can go to the monument in Marshall County and pay my respects to him. So it's important that we protect these places where we are able to go and pay the respects to our ancestors, our heritage. I don't have really anything new to add to the story or the just kind of echo what everybody else is saying.
If I may, let's bring this to modern times. And I know that we're not going to talk about AP Hill because, well, I'm in complete and full agreement with our commander-in-chief on that. And Adam echoed it. It's disgusting. I don't know what to do with it when people think that that's okay. I don't know what to think about that. But let's bring it to modern times. All of us here have ancestors that served Vietnam, Korea, World War II. Those are the ones that I think about now. I have my Confederate Memorial Day that I go and I pay my honor and my respects to my Confederate ancestors. And I have Memorial Day to think about those who paid that price, that served after, well, actually before too, Revolutionary War. But if you think about it from World War I, take it Spanish-American War and forward, those are the ones that I think about during this time. Now, that is me personally. I have my respects that I paid to my Revolutionary War soldier who was a McLean. I have my Confederate Memorial Day that I pay respects to all of my Confederate ancestors. And then I have Memorial Day to pay respects to my ancestors that passed after the War for Southern Independence.
Now,
that's how I see it.
The interesting thing you pointed out, though, Jason, you know, I was reading a message from Linda Gramlin, and she pointed out that the Ladies Memorial Association eventually becomes the UDC. There are several monuments here in Mississippi, and I'm going to speak about one in Belzona, Mississippi. It was built, after World War I. And on the monument is a Confederate soldier. And it has a World War I soldier on it to show that connection, to show that devotion of Southerners going off to defend their homeland, to defend this nation. Now, a couple of years ago, it was desecrated for the a member of the Board of Supervisors decided he's going to take a piece of granite, cover up the Confederate section wording of it, and have it redone. And he got his butt sued, and he lost. He's got to fix everything back. But the point is that it was created to remember Mississippians that fought in World War I. They were Southerners answering this nation's cause. And guess who created it? It was the UDC.
They were actually, majority of them were probably descendants of Confederate soldiers.
Yes.
And that's what a lot of people need to realize, that there were a lot of descendants of Confederate soldiers that defended this nation after the War for Southern Independence.
And you know what? The UDC, if I remember correctly, and Linda Graham will probably chime in on my phone in a minute about this, but it was UDC that gave all the Confederate veterans Southern Crosses of Honor, those medals that they wore. Okay? To this date, the UDC gives war service medals to our veterans. That is the only Confederate organization that gives a medal that can be worn on the U.S. military uniform. It's from the UDC.
Yeah.
SCV medals cannot be worn on a military uniform. They give those medals to remember those men, to thank them for their service. Now, what's it going to be? Here we have the government wanting to do what the name of the military bases down south, because they're named after Confederate leaders. They're going to rename the streets, rename the buildings, rename everything that's associated with Confederate. I bet you the next thing is they're going to say no more UDC medals to these men, because those medals were given to show patriotism, to thank those men for making those sacrifices. Remember, Jason, a couple of years ago, my nephew, who served 3 tours in combat overseas, and you had the honor of helping me give him a war service medal that was unexpected. He served in Iraq, he served in Afghanistan, and he served in the Syrian theater and came back home from 3 tours of combat. Now, we already have the federal government saying that we cannot allow in junior ROTC to be wearing the Hunley Awards anymore. The U.S. Navy has already said, junior ROTC Navy, you can't have the Hunley Award no more. It all ties in. I'm sorry. It all ties in with Memorial Day. Why do we call it Memorial Day? To remember the sacrifices of these men, to remember their dedication to the defense of this nation. They gave their all.
Well, let me jump in real quick, Commander.
Turning their backs on us like that.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in with a couple of points that the SCV has been making for years. First of all, we've been saying since 2015 that the SCV, or the Confederate soldiers, the Confederate veteran, is the low-hanging fruit in this nation. Right when all this stuff started, this amped up second round of Reconstruction started, there was a World War I memorial that was ordered to be taken down, and the mainstream media brushed it under the rug. How many other war memorials then? Because we've lost all of our World War I veterans, we're losing our World War II veterans, and we're starting to lose our Vietnam veterans. Who's next? Who is next? I mean, that's my next question. Because when the U.S. Congress equated Confederate soldiers, gave them U.S. veteran status, that should, if we are a republic with liberty and justice for all, that is it. All veterans, equal rights for all veterans. We used to have bumper stickers that said that, equal rights for all veterans. And that's what we want, at least the SCV. We want those equal rights. Because our ancestors, our veterans, deserve to be protected just as much as my Revolutionary War ancestors, my War of 1812 ancestors. My World War One great grandfather, who was one of the first Devil Dogs. My grandfather, who served in both World War II and Korea, and we're waiting on his all of his records to be completely, declassified, because we think that he was even an advisor over in Vietnam before the U.S.'s direct involvement. Is he next? Is my great grandfather? Who is next? Where is the line in the sand? If you continue to attack one group of veterans, suddenly all veterans are under attack. One. Second, the Confederate soldier was doing the same thing. And this is on our website. The same motive. Let me pull it up really quickly. Or it's on the one. I know it's on the 1-800-MY-SOUTH one. Because I love how this is written. But the citizen soldier who fought for the Confederacy personified the best qualities of America. The preservation of liberty and freedom was the motivating factor of the South's decision to fight the Second American Revolution. The tenacity of which the Confederate soldier fought underscored their belief in the rights guaranteed by the Constitution. These attributes are the underpinning of our democratic society and representation of the foundation for which this nation was built. Literally the same thing that motivated the Patriot in 1776, in 1812, in 1861, in whenever the Spanish Am War happened, and so on and so forth. That same devotion to God, family, country, duty that the Confederate soldier had is the same one that the American soldier had. And if we're to start dividing those principles and saying that, a group that had those same principles is wrong, then all American soldiers are wrong. If we are an equal, liberty and justice for all nation. The other thing that I don't think that a lot of people, understand is that most of the American armed forces are made up of Southern men. That was part of, Chief Kennedy. I remember hearing him speak at Mississippi's 5th Brigade. It was about 2 years ago. It was a brigade picnic, and he talked about the I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but the unspoken compromise between, during reconciliation of the country, that the South would rejoin and we would send our sons, to fight, and the federal government wouldn't be that tyrannical. Well, we've upheld our end of the bargain, but the other end of the bargain hasn't been upheld. And a bargain or agreement that is broken by one is a broken agreement. That's all I have.
Well, it goes to show the devotion, and I agree with you, Connor. It goes to show the devotion of the South to keep that bargain. Because when the Spanish-American War started, Southerners answered the call. Let's just look at Fighting Joe Wheeler, who was Speaker of the House at the time. And the president asked him to serve second in command, a major general with volunteers, because they needed somebody who had experience in combat like that. And he led American forces into Cuba. Now, look, the man was buried in his general's uniform, his federal general's uniform. Now, that's devotion to this country. And he was pardoned. Well, let me take back the word pardon, because pardon means he committed a crime. But he was a full citizen of this country after the war, and then he devoted the rest of his life to this nation to try to reconcile the differences between the two regions of this nation. Other Confederates did the same throughout the rest of their life. And for them to be looked upon as not American soldiers, to go against every bill that was passed to recognize them as American soldiers, I'm going to throw my hands up again. I give up.
I would like to go ahead. I'd like to touch on something that Connor was talking about. We'll actually touch on two things. One of the things, that thing that you read, That's what we read when we swear somebody into our local count. We read that as part of the swearing in ceremony to let everybody know where we came from. You have to know where you're coming from to know where you're going. And another thing is, and it's just, you touched on it, Commander in Chief has touched on it, there is nothing sacred here. There is no line. The line moves continuously based off who is being triggered, who is having their feelings hurt, or who feels like they can get some exposure and some attention from this. A lot of this that is thrown out there, I know they're talking about digging up AP Hill. My guess is AP Hill has some descendants, and my suspicion would be that they need to contact those descendants to see if they can get permission to do it. But what it has done is it has given people a moment in the spotlight, and it lets a politician faint that he is trying to do something and keep some, just to keep the enemy from eating them last. They're still going to eat them. They're going to eat everything. There is nothing sacred. There is no line. So we have to get past this point that things are sacred. People are going to do what is right. People are going to do what is Christian. And we just have to realize that, well, things are the way things are now. And we have to get past this. I don't know where it comes from. I just know that the line is going to continually change.
And it's changing every day. I agree with you, Jason, because when you said something about contacting the family of AP Hill, that would put it in the same perspective as the situation we have with Forrest. But the Richmond government, in conjunction with the state of Virginia's government, has circumvented the law, and they found a loophole. They have decided that grave and that monument in Virginia, in Richmond, to A.B. Hill is, how do they put it, a traffic hazard. And that's what's allowed them to do this. So they haven't got to contact the family or anything. It's a traffic hazard. Even though traffic goes around it. But it's a hazard. It's a hazard. I hit this guy from behind because I was distracted by this Confederate monument. Shame on that Confederate monument because it caused me to have a traffic accident. Slap somebody on the back of the head, please.
And folks, that is the reason why Memorial Day is important. And that's the reason why it was started by the people in their Southland, because their beloveds were spread all over the southern part of this nation and the northern part of this nation being POWs. That's the reason why it matters. That's the reason why all of it matters.
Yes.
And one thing that I wanted to bring up, we talk about remembering our veterans. And there's a compatriot from at Raphael Sims Camp number 11 in Mobile, Alabama, who is just about the closest thing.
Great camp, by the way. They won Camp of the Year several years ago. Great camp.
Well, this is Beetle Bailey, who's the closest thing to an honorary Mississippi Division member as you can be. I've heard him give this speech several times. At Beauvoir, I'm going to pull up the picture really quickly. We have the official, as designated by the SCV, UDC, COC, the MOSB. I think that's it. The official tomb of the unknown Confederate soldier. This young man was between the ages of 16, I believe, 22 years old. He was found in the 1980s on a battlefield, private property, but a field on the Vicksburg campaign.
Battle of Port Hudson.
Vicksburg campaign.
Yeah, Port Gibson. Excuse me, Battle of Port Gibson is where they found him. Rick Fort found him.
Yeah. And he was buried in a shallow grave with his accoutrements, with his canteen where he fell. He was, removed and buried at Beauvoir, Jeff Davis's last home, which is owned by the Mississippi Division United Sons Confederate Veterans, Inc. Open Monday through Friday, or Monday through Saturday. Go and visit if you're ever on the Gulf Coast. Beautiful location, 82 pristine acres right off the Gulf of Mexico. But he's unknown. No one knows who this young man is. No, they know where he was from from looking at the where it was in battle. Won't say what state, but but they don't know for sure who his identity is. He is unknown. The reason why we have Memorial Day and Confederate Memorial Day, and why the SCV and the UDC and any other Southern Heritage Genealogical Preservation Society, we're here so that young man, that unknown young man, is not forgotten. It is one thing to be unknown. It is something completely different to be forgotten. When you're unknown or you don't know something, you can go to Beauvoir or the Nathan Bedford Forrest Home or the National Confederate Museum in Elm Springs, and you can learn about what happened. You can learn about the history, the true history that we try to present here every single week, that narrative that we talk about reclaiming with the Southern Victory Campaign. You can learn that. It can go from being unknown to something known. But when history or these men are completely forgotten, they can't be re-remembered. We should never let any of our veterans, be it blue or between 1776 and modern day, we should not let any of them be forgotten.
And according to that story, Connor, that Rick Fort told me, when he found the remains, found his accoutrements and all, the young man never got a shot off. He still had 40 rounds in his cartridge box.
Yeah.
If I'd like to interject something here, and this is just a personal belief. Sometimes we have to rely on those. I know we say unknown. He is known, but he's known only to God.
Yeah.
And that's how we have to approach this. God hasn't forgotten him. Now, God expects us to not forget people either. Let's remember that.
Yeah, well, Joshua, Joshua and the Israelites crossing the Jordan River into Canaan. What does God command Joshua to do?
He's to put up 12 stones, so that your children and your children's children will ask, "What mean ye these stones?" We're just supposed to. That's called the parable of the 12 stones. And you take a parable is there so people will learn. And that is what that is. That story is there to teach people that every tombstone, that every monument, that every marker is there to help people remember.
And
right now, that young man that is there on the grounds of Beauvoir, he is not unknown. His name and his soul is known only to God. It is our job to make sure that he is not forgotten on this earth.
And it is up
That's
to
what
us.
God tells us to do.
And it is up to us, the living stones, the living monuments to those men, to tell their stories as well. And we can hold our heads high because we stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm done.
I'm throwing my hands up. I'm through with it.
But folks, now you know why there's an argument in the South on exactly when it started. We know it was going on before the war was over. We know in 65 and 66 that there were organized Memorial Days. and we had the Ladies Memorial Associations, and they became the UDC. We know all of that. You can argue it, but it doesn't change the facts.
Amen.
Harrison, you got anything you want to add?
No, I'm just eating it.
It looks real comfy.
Payback, buddy. Payback.
Harrison needs a bad hobby.
Harrison is a bad hobby.
Oh, I imagine most of that comes from hanging around you, but
Yeah,
that is
probably.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
Okay.
would say when I grow up, I want to be just like Adam Southern. I think I'm doing an okay job at it.
Yeah, he's getting there. I want to congratulate Connor. He didn't freeze up any this episode.
I did not. Yeah.
Well, good stuff, guys. Larry, go take a blood pressure pill.
Who, me?
Yeah,
I'll go get me a beer.
that's what you need.
Well,
Me too.
look, I want to thank our audience that watches us, because guess what? We wouldn't be where we're at right now if it wasn't for our viewers. And, they need to pat themselves on the back, because those that keep coming back every week to listen to us, I don't know if I'd want to listen to us, but we appreciate y'all. We
Yeah.
appreciate y'all.
I tell you what, folks, if y'all show up at the National Reunion and you have an SCV Chat shirt or you have a Bring 'em Home Forest shirt, I will have a marker on my possession the whole time. And if you ask me to and you want me to, I will sign your shirt.
Now, Jason, you just stole my line, because I was going to say we was going to have a table set up. We'd all sit there and sign everybody's T-shirts.
Well,
Yep.
I do have.
We'll
about
do that.
300 Well, I do
We'll
have
do that.
about 300 8x8 black and white headshots already pre-signed. I just got to write to who it's to. So
I don't want a headshot. I want a belly shot, because that's what everybody knows me by.
little
Wait,
T-Rex
wait,
arms
wait,
folded up on that belly.
Wait, somebody said you're known for pterodactyl arms, remember?
Yeah, I've been told that too. You know,
Vinny, do you still want to be like J-Bo when you get older after hearing that?
no, don't nobody need to do that. Somebody said something about me being cloned, and I'm thinking, no. You want to clone somebody, pick somebody better, okay?
Poor elbow. Well,
I thought somebody had cloned Adam Southern. It's the reason why we got GCB now.
No.
He just ain't caught up with him yet.
He's got a lot more gray in the beard.
Yep.
Well, but Monday's gonna be tough. My wife's father died a couple of months ago. He was a World War II vet, served in the Navy. I've got my grandfather's picture from World War II. He was in Britain during the Blitz, hanging up on the wall. My mother's father, he was a lieutenant in World War I that defended Alaska during the Russian Revolution, because they were scared the Russians were going to come back and reclaim Alaska. So come Monday, I'll be remembering those men. I'll be looking at their pictures hanging up on the wall in my office here in their uniforms, and I'll remember the sacrifices they made. And I'll be remembering my great who fought during the War for Southern Independence, because his picture's right there too.
Yeah, and one thing I think that would really help us out as a confederation, we talk about getting in our communities and reclaiming the narrative. If your county is hosting something, like Rankin County usually hosts something every year, you got a year now to work on it, but try to get on, if they lay floral tributes or something like that, like the VFW does, try to get your camp involved in that. I mean, really, try to get your camp involved in that. Lay the wreath at the monuments, because we are a veterans' rights organization. We're a fraternal organization, but ultimately we are a veterans' rights organization, same as them. Get involved with it. Get working together with your Marine Corps League, your VFW, your American Legion, whatever other veterans organization there is out there. A lot of Metcalf guys ride with the Patriot Guard, and that's great too. Continue to do that, and let's build a network so that at the end of the day, all American veterans are protected.
Yeah, and come Memorial Day, I don't know if a lot of y'all have problems like I do here in Greenwood, but I constantly have to go out and remind the Boy Scouts when they put flags out on the graves. And I know this may sound redundant and it may sound bad, but I ask them, please take the U.S. flags off those Confederate headstones. I know that sounds bad. It sounds unpatriotic, but I've got 54 graves in the Greenwood Cemetery. So I asked them if you would like to put them out there, put them around the edge of the cemetery, but don't put them on the graves. That's just my personal touch on it. I just don't think any of our boys that died in the war would want that flag on their grave. I'm not saying that's unpatriotic. I'm not saying that they're not Americans, but they don't know that flag is their country's flag. They know the national flag, the first, second, third, the battle flag is their flag that they fought up.
Now, I heard it explained to me exactly the way you finished it up. That was not the flags they served under. That was the way that it was explained to me. It's not that they were unpatriotic. That's just not the flag that they served under.
Yeah.
I mean, you would, in Jackson, Mississippi, we've got a small little plot that's has some Dutch flyers that trained during World War II when Holland was occupied, and they crashed and died. And that little bit of land is deeded to the nation of Holland. You wouldn't put an American flag over those, Dutch veterans. Same way you wouldn't do with the British veteran. They were at the time of their death soldiers of a separate independent nation.
Yeah, I respect the Scouts. I understand why they're doing it, but it was just a history lesson I had to teach them. And I said, put the flags around the edges of the cemetery, but please don't put them on the Confederate graves.
Well, boys, if that's it, we're going to call it a stream. Remember, we will not be live next week. We're going to take the week off so we can, have Memorial Day. Yes, what a cute little fella. So
I would like to say that since we're not going to be live on Monday, go pay your respects. Go pay your respects.
Yes. Well, guys, like I said before, I'm through. I'm throwing my hands up. It's time for a cold one.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. So good night, y'all. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Remember, that gives us plenty of time to post about the next one, where we will have a special guest, a blast from the past, quite literally. Hopefully he will have some hair dye come in from the blockade. But we're going to be talking about a certain Confederate general. So until not Jimmy Kemper. And Michael Hardy, Adam does not look like Jimmy Kemper. He does not have shifty eyes. I can't say about the hand in the pocket, but he does not have the shifty eyes of a politician. Anyway, so until next time, y'all, remember, in the words of Harold Philpotts, no Fumar in the elevator.
No Fumar in the elevator, and Redder Frog.
Redder Frog.